Next up, we have Representative Jess Hanson with House File 1274. This would regarding permitting the Commissioner of Agriculture to accept donations on behalf of the Emergency Farmer Working Group. Representative Hanson, we have about 10 minutes blocked out for this bill. Please move your bill and begin.
Thank you, Chair Sundin. And thank you, members of the committee. I move that HF 1274 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Omnibus Ag Finance Bill. As we've just heard, the Emerging Farmers Working Group is an important aspect in the next age of farming. And I want to thank all the testifiers for their contribution to this work and for their continued support of this working group. My bill seeks to provide $20,000 over 2 years to further the objectives of the Emerging Farmers Working Group. This is the top recommendation in the department's report, though it was not in the governor's budget. You've heard a little bit, but let me recap the history of this group. The legislature directed the commissioner to write a report about emerging farmers in Minnesota. Then the report recommended the creation of this working group, but there were no funds appropriated. This working group has met 4 times with a facilitator since its implementation and has done a lot of great work. This work has been paid for by pulling together undedicated funds and relying on unpaid volunteer work. These funding shortfalls limit the ability of this group to do as much work as there is to be done. The working group's legislative directive is to advise the commissioner and legislature regarding the development and implementation of programs and initiatives that support emerging farmers in the state. By statute, this group includes people and organizations that represent people who are farmers or aspiring farmers, who are women, veterans, persons with disabilities, American Indian or Alaskan Natives, members of a community of color, young and urban, and any other emerging farmers as determined by the commissioner. This is important work. So it's just as important that we provide them the resources that they need to collect and provide us with the data that will lead us to make effective decisions and investments in the future. The creation of this new account and empowering their ability to accept donations will help expand the reach of this critical work. We want more farmers engaged in our industry, and we know that diverse experiences add strength and value to the overall industry and economy. This investment is a reflection of our values, and it honors our commitment to addressing the barriers facing farmers today. Testifying today is Hannah Bernhardt. She's a working group member. We also have with us Stu Laurie, who's the Director of Government Relations with the Minnesota Farmers Union, available for questions if needed, but he is not testifying. And I've also received a message of support from the Central Minnesota and Duluth Young Farmers Coalitions in support of this bill. So Chair Sundin and committee members, thank you for hearing this important bill. I'm looking forward to laying this over and funding this group with your support. With that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to now turn it over to our testifier, Hannah.
Hannah Bernhardt, would you please identify yourself for the record and proceed?
Thank you, Chair Sundin and members of the committee. My name is Hannah Bernhardt, and I'm the owner and operator of Medicine Creek Farm in Finlayson, Minnesota. Since 2016, I've been raising grass-fed beef and lamb, pastured pork, and livestock guardian dog puppies using rotational grazing and soil health practices. I direct market meat to customers looking to support regenerative agriculture, primarily through our website and social media. By many people's standards, I am an unconventional farmer, but I see myself as part of a growing group of emerging farmers interested in providing food for my community while taking care of our environment. As such, in 2019, I joined Assistant Commissioner Bailey for the Emerging Farmer Listening Session held in Duluth, and I subsequently applied for and received a position on the inaugural Emerging Farmers Working Group. As the 2021 legislative report states, people affected by policies and decision-making should be involved in the creation of that policy and those decisions. And I agree that listening directly to the voices of emerging farmers is central to making institutional change that will help us start our farms and succeed. To hear those voices, though, it's important to begin by acknowledging the value of our time and contributions and the barriers to even participating in the working group. Lack of funding for the group could exclude participation from those who don't have organizational support and may not be able to afford childcare or to take time away from off-farm work. I personally had to bring my then 3-year-old son with me to that first listening session, where Assistant Commissioner Bailey brought him paper and markers so I could participate in the discussion. I doubt that's in his job description, but there's also currently no dedicated staff or funding for a group facilitator. So House File 1274 addresses these barriers and aligns with the #1 recommendation in the Emerging Farmers Legislative Report to fund the group to appropriate levels. Proposals also has the support of the Minnesota Farmers Union and the Minnesota chapters of the National Young Farmers Coalition. So I'm really pleased to see it put forward and hope we can gain your support as well. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and thank you to Representative Hanson, as well as Assistant Commissioner Bailey and his staff for working to bring equity to agriculture in Minnesota.
Okay, thank you very much. Representative Hanson, did Stu Laurie from the Minnesota Farmers Union have testimony available?
Chair Sundin, he is not here to testify, but is here to support this initiative and answer any questions that members might have.
Just wondering what he's up to, that's all. Thank you. Any questions? Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And a question for the representative. Representative Hanson, a couple of years back, we were able to get some donations for the tractor rollover protection program. Just wondering why the department can't accept donations for this program without new legislation. Can you apprise me of that, please?
Representative Hanson, please.
Sure, thank you, Chair Sundin. Representative Anderson, the current statute does not call for that right now. And so we want to allow them to accept that. I'm happy to send you the bill language if you'd like to see that, but it just isn't written that way right now. From my understanding, I will defer to others if they have additional comments on that.
Representative Anderson, follow up?
No, that's fine.
Okay, maybe we could have that supplied to the committee then, Representative Hanson. That would be helpful. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. What is your pleasure, Representative Hanson?
Chair, I'd like to renew my motion for this HF1274 to be laid over for possible inclusion in the Omnibus Ag Finance Bill, please.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Hearing that, House File 1274 is laid over.